give it a couple minutes for people to start joining. This is the second Let's Explore Homeopathy video webinar, Facebook Live webinar. Just going to give it a minute. If anyone joins, feel free to click in the chat where you are from. And if this is the first time you have heard about homeopathy. Just going to give it a minute here. Perfect. Right. Well, let's begin with the Let's Explore Homeopathy Facebook Live webinar. My name is Diane Beach, and I am here to welcome you. I am your host for today's webinar, and I have an online coaching business called DMB Health Consultant. I have been studying and researching health for about 15 years now, and actually ran across homeopathy during my health coaching certification training with the RCP, or the Root Cause Protocol with Morley. It was only mentioned briefly, and so I didn't give it much thought. My first real introduction to homeopathy was about 7 years ago, when my hand got in the middle of a dog fight and I ended up in ER with 2 broken and mangled fingers. I thought I was going to lose them, but some of my fellow RCP classmates told me about something called arnica and told me what to order, so I did. I used it along with some other suggestions, and it saved my fingers. I pretty much have full mobility and a couple light scars, but for some reason, homeopathy still didn't click for me. It wasn't until COVID happened and I still got sick, even though I was eating healthy and being mindful of not putting toxins into my body for 10 years prior. I had had several stressors leading up to COVID that reduced my vitality and my body's ability to fight back, and not enough time to address that stress before I got nailed with that flu. That really got me thinking that there had to be something out there to help me boost my immunity and vitality in a natural way that I hadn't heard of yet. A fellow RCP classmate mentioned that she was going to start leading some gateway to homeopathy study groups and that anyone could join. That's when homeopathy found me and took me hostage, and the rest is history. So today's agenda is we are going to explore what is homeopathy, why practical homeopathy, 5 goals of homeopathy, and then some information on Gateway 1 study group. And if there's time at the end, you can pop some questions in the chat. All right. So we are going to start with what is homeopathy. Maybe we need to start with what homeopathy is not. It is not home remedies, supplements, or vitamins, although it can be used at home. It is not essential oils or herbs, although a lot of remedies are made from the raw materials of plants. I used to say it was holistic, but a lot of people think about these other things that I just mentioned. What homeopathy is a very specific medical paradigm that does not use conventional drugs. Homeopathic remedies, as they are so fondly called, can be made from plants, minerals, human substances, animal substances, and even toxic substances that have been diluted and succussed, which is gone over in greater detail in the study groups and on Joette's website. There's an interesting book called Nanodynamics, and it's written by Dr. E.S. Rajendran. He tells us that homeopathy is nanoscience. It's nanomolecular, and it was ahead of its time by like 200 years. Has anyone here tried or used homeopathy? If you have, put a comment in the chat. So homeopathy is medicine. It's monitored in the U.S. since the 1940s by the Food and Drug Administration, which was actually started by a homeopath. And these remedies, medicines, are prepared by stringent standards set by the HPUS, or Homeopathic Pharmacopoeia of the United States. Homeopathy is made from various materials that are often toxic in the raw form. They can be made from plants, animals, healthy or diseased tissues, minerals, drugs, or other man-made materials. Hi, Kathy. It's great to see you here. Glad that you're loving homeopathy. Homeopathy is highly diluted and non-toxic through a process called dilution and succussion. Any toxic properties are removed and only the medicinal and curative properties remain. Here's a quote from Boreon, which is one of the homeopathic pharmacies that creates the remedies. Homeopathy has been used for more than 200 years, building a remarkable safety record and generating a great body of knowledge. Homeopathic medicines do not mask symptoms, are not contraindicated with pre-existing conditions, and are not known to interact with other medications or supplements, making them one of the safest choices for self-treatment. That seems pretty important in today's day and age, at least it is for me. What is homeopathy? So it's derived from the Greek words homeos, similar, and pathos, illness. So homeopathy equals similar illness, or the law of similars. So the law of similars is the foundational principle of homeopathy, stating that like cures like. A substance that can produce symptoms in a healthy person can also cure similar symptoms in a sick person. The medicines utilized are based on their ability to mimic the disease state and stimulate the body to heal itself. So an example is given on the right-hand side of the slide. That example of the law of similars in homeopathy. Symptoms experienced when chopping an onion. We get watery or burning eyes, a runny nose, sometimes sneezing. symptoms similar to what you might experience with seasonal allergies, for example. The homeopathic medicine Allium cepa, made from a red onion, is one possible medicine that can be used to address symptoms of allergies. And there is a link that should be pinned in the video of this Joette, What is Homeopathy? Feel free to click on that and download that or have it bring up the page. In contrast, with conventional or allopathic medicine largely focused on the use of pharmaceuticals, which often suppresses the symptoms and cause a host of other side effects, leading to further imbalance in our body systems. Homeopathic medicines are used to stimulate our body's own innate healing mechanisms in conjunction with our vital force in order to correct the underlying imbalance that caused the symptoms in the first place. It makes sense to something deep inside of me that has not resonated with anything else that I have tried, at least not on that level. Maybe you will find that to be true for you also. I consider homeopathy to be the cherry on top of the healthy foundation of nutritional and lifestyle choices. It's like the jumper cables that can help our bodies learn to communicate with the foods that we are putting into our bodies. That's pretty cool. There are many different forms of homeopathy out there, but we are going to focus on practical homeopathy that has been developed by Joette Calabrese. With classical homeopathy, which is one type of homeopathy, it was a term that was coined in the 1970s. Interestingly, that's the same time that Big Pharma took over research and decided they didn't want homeopathy to be helpful. So classical homeopathy is holistic, more of a holistic view. Each sufferer will get an individual medicine, often referred to as their constitutional remedy. It's very person specific, and it's also referred to as the similimum, the one perfect medicine that matches the totality of that individual's physical, mental, and emotional state, often over their lifetime. That's pretty intense. Typically, only one remedy is used at a time. Treatment stops, and you wait for a period of weeks and or months to observe the condition. A lot of times aggravations happen, which means that there's a worsening of symptoms, and that's pretty common with the classical method of homeopathy. With practical homeopathy, which is the term coined by Joette Calabrese, it utilizes standardized protocols developed over time and through observation of which medicines have been shown to work best for each condition. It's very condition specific, similar to allopathic medicine where you get a strep throat and you get antibiotics. Well, we use the symptoms that we are experiencing to lead us to a medicine or a protocol. It utilizes more than one medicine or protocol at a time, and repeated doses are often given daily or twice daily. Choosing medicines is faster, and we don't need to find the perfect medicine that fits every condition that someone has experienced over their entire lifetime. We're not looking for the similimum. We are looking for what's going to help what we are dealing with now. If we have strep throat going on, we may not feel comfortable sitting there taking a 2 hour extensive interview of our symptoms. We just want to feel better now. And aggravations are very rare with practical homeopathy. We're going to talk about 5 goals of homeopathy: to reduce fear, gain confidence, gain control, save time, and save money. So let's kind of tease those goals apart. Number 1, reduce fear. Fear of fevers, colds, normal childhood illnesses. When we panic or get stuck in fight, flight, freeze, fawn, it's easy to fall prey to interventions we don't want because our logical brain goes offline. When that happens, we make emotional decisions rather than logical decisions. There are remedies that can help us keep our logical brain online, and along with some EFT tapping. So there's an article attached also to our live stream here from Dr. Dan Siegel, and it is called The Hand Model of the Brain, which explains that when our emotion takes hold, our brain flips, and our logical part of our brain, which is the frontal lobe, is no longer engaged, and we're reacting from emotion. It's a really good article, so it should be linked down below for your enjoyment. Number 2, gain confidence. Confidence to treat your family yourself, knowing when to go to the emergency room and you can still treat on the way, and when to stay home. If we can reduce our fear and gain control and confidence in using these medicines, we can get good at treating acute issues so that they don't become the chronic issues down the road. That's a really important point. If we can get good, I'll repeat that, if we can get good at treating acute issues so that they don't become chronic issues down the road, we are going to be able to have all of these 5 goals met. Number 3, gain control, knowing how and when to use homeopathy. Knowing you have a choice is an awesome feeling. If going back to that reducing fear, if we are in a state of fear, we are going to make different choices than if we are using our logical brain. So homeopathy, EFT, and a healthy diet can all get us back into our logical brain so that we can be in choice. And when we are in choice, we will be in better control and operating from our logical mind. Goal number 4, save time. So saving time, owning knowledge of what to do in most every medical situation will save you time. Time not spent in waiting rooms, doctor's offices, pharmacies, sitting on the phone trying to talk to the insurance companies. That time can be spent with your family and friends, and maybe also in reading and learning about the remedies and their uses, which leads us to the last goal of saving money. Number 5, medicine is costly, especially allopathic medicine. There's insurance copays, for doctor's visits, prescriptions, ER visits. It can add up real quick. According to a quick internet search, Medical bills are the number one reason most people end up in bankruptcy. 66.5% of bankruptcies are from medical bills. That's just crazy to me. Homeopathic medicines are inexpensive and they don't expire. So if you own some already, don't throw them away. Joette has kits that are over 100 years old and they still work. How do you want to spend your money? Do you want to spend it feeding a system of medicine that suppresses symptoms, or investing in yourself and your health with a system of medicines without side effects that don't suppress symptoms and encourages health and vitality instead of sickness? We each have to make our own choices as to what is right for us. And we can change our minds at any time. Like I said at the beginning, homeopathy didn't click with me for a long time, even though I had experiences with it. So when we know better, we can do better. And when it's our time, it'll click. I can't tell you how many times since I've taken the Gateway study groups, I can't tell you how many times I have thought back to, man, I wished I would have known about homeopathy when this or that happened, especially when I was raising my kids. That would have been so helpful to know that. Here are some real life applications that I learned on how to apply homeopathy when I was going through the study groups. I took my study groups 4 times so that I could really absorb all of the information, because there's a lot of information. Did you know that homeopathy can be used for people, pets, and plants? So on Mother's Day, my granddog fell down into our window well. I thought he broke his legs or his back because it just looked bad when I was looking down at him. I scooped him up and out of that window well, and he's a 65-pound dog, so that was quite a sight. I ran in the house to get my remedies that were already running through my mind, gave him some aconite for the shock, arnica for any bruising, hypericum for any nerve damage, Bellus perennis for any injuries to the trunk of his body. I was guessing because dogs can't speak. There was no trip to the ER or the vet because I had a sense of what to give him because of what I had learned in the lessons in the study group about emergency medicines. He was sore for a couple of days, but back to normal and back to trying to chase rabbits. Another example with the same granddog is that he has been acting weird, almost jealous of the grandbaby when I started watching her. Because the study groups taught me how to look for a remedy that might be helpful using internet search of blogs, materia medicas, and repertories, I was able to find a remedy that fit him and his new potty on the floor behavior, which never used to happen. It saved me another vet visit, or worst case scenario of having to put him down. I'm starting to branch out into using some remedies for my house plants and gardens. When transplanting or splitting plants, either in the house or out in the garden, arnica has been very helpful. I had just finished reading a book about remedies for plants and had the chance to use some arsenicum album on my red lilies when I spotted some scarlet lily beetles that were decimating my plants outside, and it worked. Now that I know that I have options, I see opportunities everywhere to use more remedies in my garden and am excited to give it a try with my apple trees and my other perennials and annuals. To me, that's exciting. If I don't have to use chemical concoctions that are poisonous for me and the planet, all the better. Here are some examples of how I have used homeopathy for myself. Cantharis and Meterinum for UTI symptoms, Arnica and Nat Sulph for old head injuries, Aconite and Bryonia for cold and flu symptoms. I used to have a sore on my face that would come and go and mostly stay and drive me nuts and everyone around me nuts because I was constantly picking on it. And it started when I was pregnant with my first baby 33 years ago. I finally figured it was a gut health and detox pathway issue, and eating ancestrally was a foundational piece, but didn't make it go away until I addressed it with homeopathy remedies of Lycopodium arsenicum combination, that's a Banerjee protocol, and I also added some calc sulph along with some ignatia. I've used a homeopathic joint pain gel for my hip and elbow pain when I fell roller skating with my youngest daughter, because I still haven't learned, right? Roller skating's too fun. I've done a vaccine detox on myself and my granddog using an advanced protocol. I've used ignatia to help me navigate the grief when my mom and dad died within 4 months of each other several years ago. I used aconite, arnica, hypericum when I broke my nose by walking into the wall in the dark in the middle of the night. Not highly recommended, but I saved myself an ER visit because the emergency remedies that I learned about in the study groups. I've used arsenicum and nat mure for myself and the granddog to help detox the recent wildfire smoke. Because of what I learned in the study groups, I was also able to figure out how to help my honey and his breathing issues, also due to the quote unquote smoke. I was able to calm his fear and mine, which then gives the remedies a chance to do their work. Who enjoys an ER visit at midnight? I know I don't. Knowing that we have options and that there is something that I can try before or on the way to ER is priceless to me. There are so many ways to use homeopathy, and I am just getting started. Remember the old adage of an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. With homeopathy, if you can get good at helping yourself and your family in acute situations, this can help to prevent many chronic conditions from setting in, which will save you time and money and, better yet, maybe some peace of mind. We have the choice to suffer the pain of discipline in learning something new and stepping outside of our comfort zone, or we can suffer the pain of regret in looking back and saying, man, I wished I would have learned about that homeopathy thing when I had a chance, but now it's too late. Let's hope that isn't you, right? Here is an example of what is included in the Gateway 1 curriculum. Lesson 1, Basic Rules and Laws of Homeopathy, Practical Homeopathy and how it differs from other methods. Lesson 2 is all about further understanding of foundational principles, what sets practical homeopathy apart from classical homeopathy. Practical applications such as how often to administer medicines and top remedies forever. Remember in one of the earlier slides, we said what homeopathy is not. So homeopathy is not supplements. So we are not going to be endlessly taking a homeopathy remedy forever. We are going to use it for whether it be an acute situation or a chronic situation. And when we are very much better, we're going to discontinue the use, similar to how allopathic medicines are used, like for a headache. We don't keep taking Tylenol endlessly when our headache is gone. That's the same principle that applies to homeopathy. So lesson 2 helps us understand that a little more. Lesson 3 is all about homeopathy in first aid situations. That is probably the most beneficial lesson in that I have learned in homeopathy, and has helped dissipate and make no ER visits. Lesson 4, Banerjee protocols with important protocols for common acute conditions. Value of having the correct remedies on hand. If we have something that happens, like an emergency situation or an acute situation that happens all of a sudden, it's not going to do us any good to have the remedies on hand if we don't know how to use them. So learning how to use them and having remedies is going to be a win-win situation. Lesson 5, chronic conditions using practical protocols. So it goes more into case management, how to deal with chronic conditions, which is different than an acute situation. We go over how dosing of the remedies looks like, how often we should check in to make sure if we're making progress. We're looking for what Joette calls magic markers, which is a very helpful way of determining whether or not we are making progress or not. Next steps. Everyone attending will receive a flyer via email for some handy ideas and ways to use a few remedies right away. You can feel free to DM me or email, or jot down my email that's on the next slide, so that I can get that out to you. I promise not to spam. Also in the flyer will be more information on how to get involved in a Gateway to Homeopathy study group, what the costs are, and how to order your curriculum ahead of time. It's a fantastic way to learn the remedies in an environment of fellowship and fun with a group of like-minded people. So my next study group will be starting in early September. Days and times are to be determined yet, based on interest levels and the location of the participants. Our goal is to build a community of like-minded people with the same goal of health freedom, so that if we are in one of those acute situations and our brain goes offline because we are in fight, flight, freeze, or fawn mode, we have a community of researchers and learners that we can lean into for help. I don't know of a better way to network. I think that's pretty cool. If anyone has any questions or comments, feel free to share those in the chat. And while I can't answer specific questions, because that would require a more in-depth like Q&A and a health history consultation one-on-one. I can answer general questions if anyone has any. Feel free to share that, right? If you think anyone might be interested in this paradigm of healthcare, this video should be active for the next 30 days. So feel free to share that if you run into someone and they mention how they're looking for something different and how disappointed they are in the allopathic system of medicine. Feel free to share. And I have one housekeeping note for the next Facebook Live. My link says it's on the 21st of August, but I had to change that, the next Facebook Live for August 19th at 6 p.m. instead of the 21st at 7 p.m. So make that note on your calendars if you want to attend the next Facebook Live. Awesome, Lori. I can get you that information, you bet. You bet. All right. So I would like to thank everyone for attending. I said this in the last one, this Facebook Live recording should be available for 30 days. Feel free to share it with anyone that you feel might be interested in an alternative health idea. My hope is to spark your curiosity in empowering you to become the best advocate for yourself and your family in your healthcare journey. I can't think of a better way. All right, and that is it. That is the end of the presentation. If you guys don't have any questions, I will click end the live video. Thank you for attending, and yeah, great. Me too. I'm gonna share it far and wide because this is really important information for people to have and to know about. The more people that we know, the more people we can share it with. And don't forget to, one last note, don't forget to check out the links that are pinned below in the live feed, and we will talk to you soon. Have a good rest of your evening or wherever you are at in the world. Have a good night. Bye-bye.